Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Monday, February 3rd, 2020, 7 p.m. Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Obermark.
Here.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit. Here. Skornia.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meetings dated January 21 and 28, 2020? Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye.
Patke.
Aye.
Pettit.
Yes.
Skornia.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Wessels.
Yes.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
If not, I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion by Heidrich, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the minutes from our meetings dated January 21 and January 28, 2020. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have a liquor license application for Captain One Liquor and More, 305 East 8th Street, and a change order number 4, final pay request from McFry Excavating, Inc. for the Struckoff landfill site prep.
Were there any comments or questions? I will point out that the new owners of Captain One Liquor and More are here, Sam and Nick, so they are here tonight. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
They're the new owners of Captain One Liquor, or at 305,
From the old 305.
the old 305. So they are here tonight. So,
I will say something about the landfill change order. This was change order number 4, and I know that seems a little excessive for change orders, but if you recall, we built this where we were essentially the general contractors that we subbed out in phases as the project progressed in order to save us some time. We were able to excavate, move rock quickly while we're waiting for the liner company to move in. Andrea did put together a cover letter. Hopefully you guys saw that in your packet. The biggest thing there is the second page. It does, the project did come in at $1,235,519.26. We did project that to be a $1.25 million project, so we were right there with what it was projected. We had quite a bit more savings, actually, going into January of 2019, but with the wet winter that we had to take some pretty drastic measures to get that landfill operational. We brought in a bunch of quicklime, worked 24-hour shifts for basically 3 weeks in order to stabilize the base to get some of the under drain piping and things in. So we did achieve that goal. We were within a few weeks of having to turn away outside haulers. That's how close we were. So, kudos to Tony and everybody. Street Department did a really good job also of kind of keeping everything as dry as we could to get that project done. And we're obviously operating now.
Was the company pretty good to work with?
Yeah. I have, nothing, it's McFry / Kelp Contracting were the two. They think they're owned by one and the same. But yeah, they were great to work with. Comanco is a liner company. They're all over the U.S. There was actually one puncture as we were traversing across it. They were able to mobilize into our area. They were working in Kansas, I believe. So they came over, were able to fuse everything back together on a moment's notice as well. So, I mean, everybody really kind of came together on a very tight schedule.
Cool. All right. Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Heidrich, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments. Mayor's proclamation, excellence in community service, conservation, and ecology.
Okay, so this evening, we're going to recognize Jackie Miller for her generous contribution to our community of the Miller Post Nature Reserve. So, Jackie, if you would like to come forward, and if any of your family members would like to join you.
Hello.
Okay, so everyone can gather around. And as you know, Jackie was very generous a couple of years ago, maybe even more than that, to make such a generous contribution to our community. And the Parks Department has been working out there, and it's just developing very, very nicely. So it's just beautiful. I'm excited about the fence.
Me too.
I think that fence is just beautiful.
It's
so
gorgeous.
It really is. So this evening, we have the Mayor's Proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri. Excellence in Community Service, Conservation, and Ecology. Whereas the City of Washington's Hall of Fame recognizes outstanding individuals in the community. And whereas the Dr. Bill Huber Excellence in Community Service, Conservation, and Ecology category awards individuals that give back to the community in areas of nature and conservation. Whereas in July 2014, Jackie Miller and her family donated 67 acres of property to be used for a nature reserve now known as the Miller Post Nature Reserve. And whereas the nature reserve will preserve the land and water areas in their natural, vegetative, scenic, open, and woodland conditions, allowing visitors the opportunity to learn about plants and animals. And whereas an impending learning center will provide an area for future generations to gain knowledge regarding plants and animals. And whereas Jackie Miller's generous gift will ensure that a degree of nature will forever exist for the education and outdoor enjoyment of the citizens of Washington, Missouri. Now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Washington, and on behalf of the entire city council, hereby take great pride and pleasure in paying tribute to Jackie Miller, and hereby proclaim the Dr. Bill Huber Excellence in Community Service, Conservation, and Ecology Hall of Fame will recognize Jackie Miller of the generous donation of 67 acres to the city of Washington for the Miller Post Nature Reserve. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the city of Washington, Missouri, this 3rd day of February, 2020, signed Sandy Lucy, Mayor. So, Now, Jackie, would you like to say a few words? If you would, you can certainly do that. And then immediately following this, Jackie's words, we're going to move out to the hallway, and you all can follow, because her name is now on the Bill Huber category out there. It's not quite right, so it's a temporary name. It's a temporary plaque, so we'll put the official one up when it comes in. But anyway, so you all can follow and we can go out there. So if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, you know, the reserve itself is temporary until we're ready to get it right, right?
That's right, that's right. It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
That's right.
All I can say is I don't believe all that you all have backed this, and I think it's wonderful, and I've heard so much good, but that was a big decision, as you all may know, but I prayed a lot, as you all probably know, and I'm just thrilled with what's going on, and so are my children. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's appreciated. On top top of that, Wayne is doing a fantastic job.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay, so we'll make a trip out here.
We're gonna get rid of Wayne. Now we gotta keep him.
Everybody's welcome.
Go out there. Counselor?
What'd I do? Oh, I thought you were, I figured you just would have popped me in the back of the head if I was in your way.
All city employees to receive a raise. Anybody against that? I know. I think I did this far.
Sherry's gonna listen to that tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure, that's why we said it.
That's a word.
Terry's like, you're come
That's a word. Can't have, what are you doing?
That's right. Up there just to listen. Temporary plaque. You see it?
I haven't seen it. I just don't want to take up any space. Sal, drew any squares last night? Yeah, any squares? You had $100 square?
I split it with Justin, the Elks was gonna put out squares.
These are hot.
At the end there, first of all, trying to figure like up. No, I can't actually. That's quarter and then the winner at the end. We usually got it for that. Well, I guess, no, there was scoring last night in between, but whatever his numbers were. It was not gonna do it. Square.
I had a, and I had, so it was $100. And I was like, last touchdown, I was like, come on, like, I had it. You just scored for me. Yeah, all you do is down. Nope. But when I went over, yeah. Well, she got better in the second half.
Back to the classroom.
To guard our belongings.
I did, I passed a few
It's a
things
shady
while,
group in here.
I passed a few things while you were out of the office.
Sweet.
Jackie's husband.
I think I have passport photos in there and some x-rays, so if people can be responsible for those, that'd be great.
He was a different man.
I'll sleep.
You say so.
That.
That's right.
Okay.
Public hearings. Rezone 401, 437 Birchwood Court from R3 multifamily to PDR planned residential.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by, oh, no, wait a minute, this is a public hearing.
It's-
Okay, so Sal,
Sorry, Sandy.
that's okay.
So this is actually a fairly simple rezoning. It seems complicated because it is going into a planned district, but I'll give you a little bit of history here. So the current owners of this, they just bought it, I think, in November. But before they bought it, they did approach us and said, you know, if we were to purchase this, we would like to go from renter occupied to owner occupied and do zero lot lines, condo style all the way down. Unfortunately, it's far enough outside of our downtown district that we couldn't, I mean, we wouldn't have recommended going to C3 to allow the zero lot line. And the only other way for them to do that, well, there was two ways. One, they could have dedicated Birchwood as a public street and made the improvements. There's really not room there to do that. The other was go to a planned district. And so essentially, there is nothing changing physically at the property. I think they're going to make some improvements interior. They're going to add some, extend those porches on the back of all those, or not porches, the patios in the back of all those units. But it really is just changing on paper to allow for 10 units. So it is currently zoned R3 multifamily, and they're going to go to what used to be R4, now the PDR planned residential in order to allow for a plat. So this plat here does show Birchwood Court going down to a common ground that will be part of now a subdivision, which will have covenants and restrictions, and they'll share the cost of Birchwood Court and the common ground. It does have 10 lots. You know, again, this would not be a development we would normally, if it came in new, we wouldn't approve it just because of the narrow width and the access issues and the small lots and everything. But given it's already existing and they're just asking to change it on paper, pretty much our recommendation was denying it wasn't going to make it any safer. So we did recommend approval of this. It's not going to change anything physically for the neighborhood, and it did go to Planning and Zoning Commission last month and passed unanimously 7-0. So.
Any questions or comments regarding this item?
I think this came in at the time, years ago, it was just like a multifamily development is basically what it was, or what it was treated as, and so it's a long driveway, basically.
One thing I will mention is that I know it's come up on other issues with these duplexes that they weren't built, they had shared attics, so they had fire issues. Since these step down the hill, none of them have shared access, because they have, a lot of times these duplexes have firewalls up in between the units,
Correct.
but not firewalls between the attics, which has occupancy problems when you are selling it. But in this case, all the attics are offset, so there was no issues there.
Sal, again, I'm just, why are they changing it?
They want to be able to sell it to owner-occupied units, and most of the time you can't do condo associations anymore after the recession.
A lot of the
Thanks.
lending agencies did not want to go ahead and recognize condo plats to go ahead and do loans. I mean, what they did was, so they came to the city to come up with, we came together and figured out a separate zoning district. We also added this PDR with our code changes back in 17, but this allows you to have a zero lot line, basically. Like he was saying earlier, the only other places where you're able to do that is downtown.
Downtown or the single-family attached, which
Yeah.
in this case, the single-family attached is only for duplexes. You can only have one shared wall. You really can't do it in this case. So that now they'll actually be able to sell off Lot 1 of this Birchwood subdivision, Lot 2 through 10, so.
You said they were stair-step down, they are far-stopped in between them then?
Yeah, so they're built new enough that they have the firewalls in between, because that would have been required for the multifamily, but a lot of times those attics wouldn't have that because there's no wall in between, but in this case, it was not an issue.
It's kind of tough to get the drywall up in the attic.
Right.
I guess they did that prior to the ceilings being put in.
Well, the attics aren't even, they're
offset.
They're off center, they're not level with each other, so,
It's an exterior wall.
yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Make a motion, accept it in the minute.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing. So is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this item? Okay. Now,
I'd make a motion, accept it in the minute.
I'll
right.
second.
so we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Patke, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You've accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning Birchwood Plat 3 from R3 multifamily to PDR planned residential in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Hoopmar.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. Okay, this is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions or comments?
An ordinance rezoning Birchwood Plat 3 from R3 multifamily to PDR planned residential in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Obermark?
Obermark?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Okay, in spite of yourselves, you approved that. You approved that ordinance. Thank you. Oh,
Awake over here.
Citizens' comments?
2 different conversations ago.
Any citizens wanna-
Is there anyone who wants to address the council on any items that's not on the agenda? Okay,
Report of department heads, 2020, 2021 MoDOT traffic safety grants.
This is traffic grants I talked with you about earlier that need your approval and signature.
okay. Any questions or comments?
Motion to accept?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Sullentrup, to accept and approve this item, the traffic grants. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have approved the traffic grant. Now, Mary's going to send around,
She's got it going around. It's good.
already coming, so y'all have to sign.
Any other department heads? Ordinances, resolutions. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a second supplemental municipal agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission.
Scornia.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
I'll go ahead.
So Darren Wayne and I have been working with MoDOT and their contractor Alberici for over a year now in preparation for the close or for the finishing up of the bridge project. Part of the original agreement was that Alberici was to restore the trail back to its original form. That original form would be a 20-year-old trail. I don't quite know how you would quantify that. But they believe that that was part of whatever was damaged would be replaced. So not knowing the condition of what's underneath at this time, we did feel that it would be a patchwork, essentially, trail when it was said and done. So with that, we discussed this with Alberici and said, well, why don't you, or could we work out at least an agreement where you could pay us the lump sum dollar amount that you feel like and that we would agree to, that your efforts would be to repair the trail too. If you recall, we do have approximately $137,000 from MoDOT as a lease payment for access down the trail. So this agreement with Alberici, the $119,500, if you add those two together, is approximately $250,000. I think we presented to you a few months ago what a cost estimate to repair the entire trail, to overlay from essentially the waterworks building all the way to the end by the sand plant. Essentially, the entire run would be rebuilt once Alberici is demobilized and off the site. So that's what this agreement does. It essentially says they were going to do this amount of work. It's essentially a buyout of that amount of work that they would give us a dollar amount of $119,500. We will add that to the amount that we had for the lease agreement from MoDOT to generate $250,000 to repave and repair the trail to a brand new condition once the river allows us to do that work. And I think that that's probably the most important part, is that we cannot do this work until Alberici is able to remove the rock from the river and we're at the mercy of the river until that can happen.
Will that be enough, John, to do it?
It's running right on. There's not a large contingency. I think there's a 3% contingency built in, but it's running right on to having enough to complete the project.
And that's a 10-foot wide trail, just for the, I
Right.
know we've had discussions about it in an executive session since it was a discussion or a negotiation item, but or whatever, but it's to replace it 10 foot from the parameters of what John described.
So the interesting part about, as their project has progressed, we've had two basically historic flood events, top 10 flood events in 15 and in 17 that actually deposit large amounts of soil around the trail. So you can imagine your trail's at an elevation here, but the surrounding grade is at elevation here. You essentially created a bowl or water would sit on that portion. So for them to go in and dig all that out, I believe would cause a much bigger issue in the future. So we're working with them on, essentially elevating that or reclaiming some of that property in order for us to pave over top of it.
And the original agreement was only going to go from the bridge down to the sand plant, correct?
It's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, there was no responsibility for them to do any work from the bridge to the west. So this would essentially make everything brand new once that work is done. Unfortunately, I just can't tell you when that work is going to be done. We're prepared. We are stockpiling rock at the sand plant location. We're looking at maybe getting a rock crusher in to make our own material, our own base material. We're looking at also doing some millings as a base, which is a very, very good base. So there's ways we're trying to bring this cost down, when we redo the trail and then contract the paving operation. So
What's the condition of the trail from the waterworks building to the bridge?
it's a 20-year-old trail that, I don't know, it's probably more than 50% through its lifespan. It's 10 foot wide. People are utilizing it today.
How long is it?
I don't know that number.
It's about a half mile.
So we would look at doing just an overlay over on that portion. It would not be a reconstruct. It would just be an asphalt overlay.
That's a good deal.
Have they started taking rock out of this side yet?
Who's going to move the rock
The rock that's coming out of the river,
on the trail now? Or is it going to stay there?
it's going to stay there, and we're going to pave right over top of it, so we get a substantial base. So again, I mean, that thing will have almost a foot to foot and a half of stone underneath of it. It's a solid base to build.
We'd like
over
to
for
have
a
some
trail.
streets in that kind of condition.
Yeah, we would.
Trucks running up and down it?
Yeah, we're running on 1.5 inches most of the streets out there.
Have they started
Well, that's
taking any rock out of this side yet?
Yeah, the rock on this side, they started taking some of it out. They first hauled out some of the concrete, which we stockpiled some of the concrete, which is about a 4 to 6 inch stone. They're removing some of the rock. They've talked about getting some articulated dump trucks running 25 mile an hour just to get it out once they get some dry conditions, but that is not, it's not lent to that quite yet. We've prepared. We've actually, behind the dog park, we've had some stockpile areas with some old material. We've actually pushed that out of the way, getting ready for that rock to come. Again, I don't know the amount of yardage coming out, but I would anticipate upwards of 4,000 yards. I've been in contact with a mobilized rock crusher to maybe come in and generate our own 2 inch minus, 3 inch minus material, rather than buying it from essentially, Riverstone Quarry and trucking it. We would have a stockpile in town to use into the future. So I think that those dollar numbers actually lend themselves to make sense to do that. It's just, I don't know until it's actually out of the river.
Okay.
So we're looking at ways to utilize that commodity the best we can.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Just out of curiosity, if we're going to be doing a sidewalk program, if you're going to do crushing, is it worthwhile putting that concrete in with it?
As far as when we remove our own sidewalks and things,
Third Street from Jefferson to 47th?
yeah, I mean, for sure. We stockpile material at the recycling center as well. So, yeah, that would be a good haul route to go to. What we try to do is when we do concrete work or asphalt work is scatter the materials around town. That way, when we get to use them, they're close hauls for us, milling specifically. But, yeah, that would be a good use. That's a good point. That's a pretty large concrete project. So, and that won't have any rebar in it, so.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a second supplemental municipal agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending Section 415.015.c.1 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilmember Holtmeyer.
So a couple years ago, we had a very similar amendment to the same code section. This is in regards to our FEMA, our flood insurance study that we amend, or that we accept from FEMA that essentially dictates our floodplain ordinance. When there's any change to the flood insurance study in Franklin County, regardless if it's in our municipality or jurisdictional boundaries or not, we're required to update the flood insurance study to meet the new one. It does not change anything within the city of Washington. None of our floodplain boundaries have changed, none of our elevations have changed. This is just to reflect a change in the master study, essentially, where there was a change in the county somewhere. SEMA, State Emergency Management Agency, requires us to get this ordinance. All the other municipalities and jurisdictional boundaries within Franklin County will be doing the same
Is
thing.
this a new effective date then, John,
It
basically?
is. It's a new
The only
effective
thing?
date. Again, a new effective date with no change to our jurisdiction.
Any questions, comments?
An ordinance amending Section 415.015.c.1 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and EchoCamp Electric Company.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilmember Patke. This is
But
Chiefs.
the contract with EchoCamp Electric I talked about earlier for removing old wiring and rewiring the entire public safety building and jail area for a higher grade cable, CAD 6, that's required to operate new video cameras, which we will also be requesting of council at a later date.
Any questions, comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and EchoCamp Electric Company. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from E&E Hydraulic and to approve the purchase of 2 salt spreaders by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilmember Holtmeyer.
Yes, so this is the salt spreaders that we discussed in the workshop meeting, and they would be replacing the 2 plastic hopper salt spreaders that we have now that are from 2007, and they did come in under budget.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance accepting the bid from E&E Hydraulic and to approve the purchase of 2 salt spreaders by the City of Washington, Missouri. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels? Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Redexum Turf Products and to approve the purchase of a Verti Drain 220 aerator by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilmember Patke.
Yes, and this is also the piece of equipment we discussed in the workshop earlier. Solid tine aerator, and so that would be used in the fairgrounds after the fair to reduce soil compaction, and then also, most importantly, and mostly on the athletic fields throughout the city to help aerate the soil, get water down into the roots of the grass. And with the extra games we've been having with soccer, which is now having a spring soccer season, we could greatly use this, and this will help us continue some of the games that we have going on, that we haven't, the extra amount of games that we have, that we're now seeing that we haven't experienced recently.
Any questions, comments?
An ordinance accepting the bid from Redexum Turf Products and to approve the purchase of a Verti Drain 220 aerator by the City of Washington, Missouri. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a purchase agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and McBride Washington LLC.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtzmeyer.
This is just for our housing project down on Locust that I spoke about at our last meeting.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a purchase agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and McBride Washington LLC. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a special sale contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and B&M Metro Properties LLC.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilmember Patke.
So this is the contract that we wanted to go ahead and enter into. This is also the property that we jointly own with Franklin County. I believe there's 29.7 acres. In addition to that, we would also, as a contingency on this, approximately 2 acres are going to be excluded for a future fire station and a water storage tank, and the approximate location shown on the attached site plan, which you have as Exhibit A to the ordinance. Again, the proceeds are, the county gets 61% of the sale, we get the remaining 39, and then we go ahead and use the price per acre to go ahead and purchase that additional 2 acres that we need for ourselves from the county.
Darren, was that counteroffer acceptable to the, okay.
Any other questions?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a special sale contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and B&M Metro Properties LLC. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Commission, committee, and board reports. An ordinance approving the final plat of Birchwood Plat 3 in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Scornia.
Introduced by Councilmember Scornia.
So this is just the plat that goes along with the rezoning from earlier for lots 1 through 10 of Birchwood.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance approving the final plat of Birchwood Plat 3 in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
Listed on our agenda as our next council meeting is Tuesday, February 18th, due to the President's Day holiday. Be careful out there. Our crews, sounds like maybe we'll be working around the clock again with the upcoming weather on Wednesday. So they've been doing an outstanding job this year, and hardly any, I don't think any concerns or complaints from citizens or whatever.
Yeah, we knocked down one mailbox.
Oh, one mailbox.
I think it
Okay.
was Chiefs, so.
So if there was one you were going to hit.
Yeah, that was a good one to hit. So anyway,
Sorry about that, Chief.
but it has been going very smoothly. The crew have been ready to go, ready to, You know, they're running around, working around the clock, and things are going very well. So, anyway, if we have to have bad weather, at least we get our streets cleared. So, anyway, so thanks to our team. And that's basically all I have.
City Administrator's report.
Nothing to report, other than we do have the executive session, the one item.
Council comments.
Just one comment I seen on the, we're gonna have the e-recycle program again in April. They changed the drop-off to the Public Works instead of out at the fairgrounds.
Yes, there was last year we had a scheduling conflict with the Fair Board, and we also had it for the same time again this year. That's what they already have pre-printed material about tagging the sheep and doing everything else that they need to. So I asked our crews to go ahead and come up with an alternative location. With the pending change in our trash hauling, this may be the last year that we have something like this.
Well, we would still have something like this. It may just be the last year that we organize it. Yeah. Sorry.
So,
That's all, just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
yep, it is a, thank you for bringing it up. It is a different location.
Anyone else?
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Obermark?
Aye.
Patke?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Hollentrop?
No.
Wessels?
Aye.
Heidrich? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, you lose.
Thank you all.